everyone. Welcome again to PopCultX episode 42 today. Yeah, so thanks for hanging in there with us. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for, coming in and making us a part of your day, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're watching or listening from. Actually, if you're on YouTube right now, I want you to take this moment in the comment field and just drop us a quick note of where you are watching us from. It'd be nice to know what part of the world you're in and how we're making a difference in your life in that area. Once again, I am Daniel.
I'm Gabriel.
Yeah, and we are here to talk about all things pop culture from our Gen X old man point of view. With that being said, Gabe, I know there was a lot of I'm going to say musical hot takes that happened the past couple days, and we're going to talk about some of them. So the first one that you messaged or you put up on Twitter, calling me out on, is the whole Taylor Swift, Damon Albarn tiff, Twitter feud. What do you want to call it?
Yeah, so he's about to be doing, I think, a one-man show or a concert at the Walt Disney Theater in Los Angeles. And so I think that it's not a surprise that, he's courting controversy or getting attention by making a somewhat controversial statement. So apparently he got interviewed and he was giving his hot take on different artists, which I think is kind of annoying that reporters do that. Like, what do you think about Billie Eilish? And he's like, oh, she's exceptional. What do you think about, they're basically waiting for him to say, I don't like that person. So then they can, make the whole article about it. As someone who's been in the business for 30 years, for those people that maybe don't know who Damon Albarn is, he's a lead singer of Blur, which was like the 90s Brit pop rock. Yeah. Invasion. I love Blur. I was a big fan. I listened to them in high school. And then he went on to work with the Gorillaz, which is like the pseudo fictional cartoon band that he came out with that he basically is
the front man of. Windmill.
Yeah, and he's pretty vastly considered a musical genius. He's definitely writes some great songs, performs these great songs. So he was asked about Taylor Swift, and his sort of quip was, well, she doesn't write her own songs, which is like particularly like kind of gutting to her because she's sort of known for writing all her songs, right? Like that's her thing, is that her lyrics and her songs are very personable. And so she heard about it and tweeted him. And let me see if I can pull it up real quick on Twitter because it was kind of interesting. But yeah. And so she, not one to kind of let things go by, just like with her feud with like Kanye West, and which is really good. I think it is kind of a good lesson for women or young women in particular to like know that when someone criticizes you to stand up for yourself and not be bullied. So she tweeted at him and mentioned him and said, I was such a big fan of yours until I saw this. I write all of my own songs. Your hot take is so completely false and so damaging. You don't have to like my songs, but it's really fucked up to try and discredit my writing. Wow. He went on to reply and say, you're absolutely right. I was sadly, my conversation that he had with this writer was reduced to clickbait. He apologizes unreservedly and unconditionally, and he hopes that she understands, which I find is kind of funny because he's the veteran. Like he's been famous and in this world a lot longer than she has. She's pretty much a veteran now because she's been through her in and outs. So it's not like she's a newbie, but at the same time, like I hate when male pop stars pick on people that are really easy to pick on. It kind of gives me, triggers me to remember when like Eminem was picking on Christina Aguilera. Like, really, like, how weak are you that you're not like Biggie and Tupac? That's a feud. Eminem and Christina Aguilera, who like weighed like 105 pounds and, really couldn't, her genre wasn't even anywhere near his. And so like, why go out attacking her? Again, Damon Albarn, like in the pop rock world, going after Taylor Swift. Why? like other than, like I said, he's having a concert coming up, and I think it's way to kind of get publicity and
Well,
get some
I'm going to do a
attention.
little counterpoint with you about this here. So, I mean, I agree that why call her out? Why say that about her when
Yeah.
he raves or he gives props to Billie Eilish in the interview, and then he talks about Taylor Swift in not a negative aspect. The negative portion came from the LA Times Twitter feed, which was, like he said, reduced to clickbait. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like he said, "Oh, I love Billie Eilish. I hate Taylor Swift." Those two
Mhm.
quotes were taken, I guess, from different parts of the interview and jammed together for that clickbait. That being said, I think, yeah, maybe it was a learning moment for himself to realize that he is not the David in the Twitter or the Goliath in the Twitter world. That's Taylor Swift and her 90 million followers. I think he has like 300,000. So if he was
Mhm.
trying to stir up controversy, I think he might have. I don't know. Maybe he did do a right thing by by going after someone with that many followers, because
Yeah.
it came the pushback was, dare I say a pun, swift, and he had to
Yeah.
apologize. Now, as you always say, why don't they have PR people who tell them what to say and stuff like that before they say anything?
Yeah.
And I think that response might have been from his PR team, say, hey, you know what, you got to issue an apology. You got to get it out in front of this.
100%.
You got to, take care of it, or it's gonna get even worse. She has 90 million of her. What are her followers called? I think they have like a nickname. The
I don't even know.
Swifters or something. I
I'm
don't know.
old. Yeah.
Swifties.
Swifties.
But it's
Yeah.
good that he did that. I mean, I don't. Do I necessarily think that it was as negative as it needed to be, or does she have very thin skin? I don't know.
So I don't think that she has thin skin. I think that I give her props because in a way, like her tweet, and then she also followed up with another tweet was like, oh, by the way, in case you're wondering, I also wrote
Right,
this
I saw
tweet.
that.
So it's like even a
Yeah,
further
yeah.
little burn. In a way, it was sort of like you fucked with the wrong bitch. Like, I'm not the one for you to come after. Like, I'm going to address it. Because certainly there are some other people that may have been like, I'm going to take the high road and I'm just going to ignore it, like whatever. But I think that, like I said, I think it's an important lesson for people in general, but especially young women. Someone like tries to come for you, you can defend yourself. Like you're not. It's like, and that's the double standard of, as a woman now, she's like, is she over dramatic? Is she too sensitive? Is she too, well, she's made a career of writing her own
Yeah.
songs, and he's saying that she doesn't write her songs. Of all the things to say like, oh, I just don't like her songs.
Right, and she mentions
She's
that, right.
contrived. She's whatever. Like, she said that. You
That's
don't like
fine,
me,
yeah.
that's fine. But don't say that I don't write my own songs. Plenty of people don't write her own song. Beyonce doesn't write her own songs. There's a team of like 80 people that write one song for her. Why didn't he come for her?
Right.
Because also she's not the one to come for. Like, her beehive would destroy him. And so I think it's kind of funny that people, like, I don't know, they pick on the female artists. You can name almost any female artist and they get like a brunt of criticism from
that's true.
male artists, like Madonna or Lady Gaga or Britney Spears or Janet Jackson. Like, they always get the brunt of the criticism, and you don't really see a lot outside of Tupac and Biggie, but that really wasn't about the music. But when have you seen it's really hard for me to think of like a male pop star right now, but
like Justin
when
Bieber or something?
did you ever see, yeah, like, did you see Justin Bieber going after Shawn Mendes? No. Like, they don't do that. I really can't think of any guys right now. Or like Bono going after Anthony
or Ed
Kiedis
Sheeran
from Red
going
Hot
after,
Chili
yeah.
Peppers. Yeah, like they team up. That Bruno Mars and Ed Sheeran work together, or Pharrell Williams, like, and I mean, in the hip hop community, I think you see it. It's more prevalent, like Drake fighting with another rapper or something, but not necessarily in rock. And I just think it's unfortunate that he's a grown ass man, probably in his 50s, and he's attacking a young woman and saying she's not a right. Like, just why? I don't get it. I just like,
Yeah.
like at that level of experience, if someone asks you, what do you think of modern day people? Keep your mouth shut. I don't know.
Well,
That's an
I think
option.
yeah, that's true, and I think it all stems a little bit because he's a little bit older than us, so
Yeah.
he falls into that same Generation X where he thinks like modern music is crap, and basically like the modern age. I read that part of another interview or a story on him that basically he thinks like the modern age is just blah. It just is, and to some degree, I agree with that. Modern music is really is not is the 90s were the best for me at least, and I think he exemplifies that. And unfortunately, yes, he does call out a single person instead of just leaving it in a general, and he learned the lesson from that. I hope you realize, if that's going to get out there, he's going to get torn to shreds.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if I were to put out something like that, I know I couldn't handle it. It'd be too much for me. I couldn't take on a whole army.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's just something that maybe beyond just the social media backlash that he's getting, maybe he's learning, or hopefully he would have learned that he can't just disparage female songwriters or any other songwriter for that matter. And we'll see. Yeah.
It's just a bad look, I guess, at the end of the day. It's a bad look to be disparaging a female singer-songwriter, and it's just unnecessary. But any other lessons learned in the music industry? I think there's some other topics that we have that might kind of thematically go along with lessons learned.
Well, yeah, lessons learned. So we can segue into the tragedy news of a rock legend passing away, and that was Meatloaf. Meatloaf, his stage name, Marvin Adae was his real name. And he passed away, I think a few days ago, a week ago, whenever it was, tragically from COVID. And I say tragically, but is it a tragedy when you're anti-vax mandate?
Yeah, I don't know the particulars of the situation, if he was vaccinated or if he was not. I want to say that he wasn't, but I did see his daughter's Instagram post saying that her family was, feeling that they or tested positive for COVID and that they were all vaccinated, and otherwise it'd be much worse. And then her father died shortly thereafter. So maybe he was vaccinated. It's kind of unfortunate because right now so many people, Eric Clapton being one of them, are making anti-vaccination, anti-vaccine mandate, conspiracy theories, and they're in a position of influence on people. And and it's funny to think that they're influencing old people that, normally when you think of influential people in the music industry, you think of kids, right? Like, oh, Marilyn Manson's a bad influence on young kids. But it's these older, baby boomers that are being influenced by, Fox News, Meatloaf, Eric Clapton. And, I don't know. I it's sad that he passed away. But if he had chosen to not be vaccinated, that's on him, obviously. And then, you reap what you sow, I guess. Like, there are plenty of cases now that we know that there are people who are saying, on their deathbed, oh, I should have got vaccinated. Please, friends and family get vaccinated.
Go do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like it's like we're at the time where like those lessons have already been taught to so many people that like, why are we still in that same situation? But I to be honest, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Meatloaf to begin with.
That was never really,
I was never disappointed by his politics. I think he was a big conservative person. I think he was friends with Trump. He was on the Celebrity Apprentice with Trump. I mean, no skin off my neck for, he's not an idol that I lost, because I know him from Rocky Horror Picture Show. One of my friends on Instagram posted, that he was really a fan of Meatloaf because of that. And if I'm to be honest, Meatloaf is probably like, if I had to list what my favorite things are about Rocky Horror Picture Show, he's like on the bottom. Like there's so many great performances, so many great like musical numbers, dancing, all this, that he's like at the bottom of the list. He's part of the ensemble, but to be quite honest, like it's not even close to being about Meatloaf in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like it's a Tim Curry movie. Like that's him,
definitely.
and
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon and all of the other cast. Wasn't a really big fan of his songs. Like the rock opera sort of style that he sang in, I wasn't a huge fan of. I'm familiar with the music, but I never really, that wasn't my parents' jam, listening to that. So I didn't grow up listening to it. And then when I got old enough, he had like that one hit, "I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that." Yeah. I loved the video. The video was cool. The Beauty and the Beast kind of take and
you know who
but
directed
again,
that, right?
was it David Fincher?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who did Seven and Fight Club, I think, right? Yeah. And he was in Fight Club. Like Edward Norton tweeted about, how a sweet person Meatloaf was, which is, probably true. He's probably a really nice person in life and unfortunate that he passed. But it's, with all of these like anti-vaccine, it's, I sympathize and I empathize with the family and all of that, but it's hard. It's frustrating seeing all the anti-vaccine movement and then seeing them suffer the consequences of that.
Yeah,
and then to feel sorry for them, it's very hard. But obviously, we still feel for the family.
Yes, we do. And I think so. I didn't know about his political leanings till after he passed away, and I was scrolling through Twitter and other stuff just to learn and see what people were posting about him, because I was a fan of his music. I mean, I liked Paradise by the Dashboard Light, Bad Out of Hell, 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad, I Would Do Anything for Love. And those songs, because like you said, the operatic, the scope, the grandiose scope of those songs, it was just like, wow, because it told a story. It was like watching an opera, almost a rock opera.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that he was anti-vax mandate, anti-mask, and until afterwards, and also his Trump leanings or MAGA leanings. I don't know how far they went. But my question is, what he does in his end years, his twilight of his career, I guess, should that diminish or tarnish what we enjoyed about him during his prime? This goes for any artist, not just for...
And that I think that unfortunately, that's a topic that is really, relevant because there are so many of our idols that scandals are being brought out. And it's like, do you still appreciate their art, especially if it was really meaningful to you?
Right.
Of course, Meatloaf, not for mine, but when David Bowie passed, there was some conversation about him admittingly, I think, sleeping with a minor like back in the day, and how back then that was, somewhat normal. But now that we know that it's not, well, do you not listen to his music? Do they not still have the relevance?
Exactly.
And I think it depends. I mean, Marilyn Manson is right now embroiled in a huge controversy. His ex-partner, I think, is now accusing him basically of almost, rape. I think at one point in sexual assault and abuse. And it has made me change. It has changed my way that I view his art. I was a huge Marilyn Manson fan. I really liked the music. His persona, it was interesting, but like I wasn't such a fan that I like really bought into it. But I did like his music, and I find myself not listening to it now because of that.
Okay.
And I think that it's where you personally draw your lines. Like I feel very strongly to like support, the women who are accusing him of those things, even though it is as yet to be convicted. Like he hasn't been convicted of anything. But I believe them and I believe their stories, and I want to show support in the way that I can in it. That is by not really supporting him anymore and not listening to his music. R. Kelly is another example where I just get grossed out listening to his stuff. Like,
and I Believe I Can Fly comes on the radio and I start singing along and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I can't do that. It could look, but it's by him and he's actually was convicted. So it's like, it's tough.
I mean, there's lots of examples, right? Like, Chris Brown, with his abuse with Rihanna and people still some people still accept him. And I don't know. I think it just depends on how seriously you take the accusations or if they're convicted. how sympathetic you are to the victims of that, if it's a crime, and how much the art means to you. I mean, I'll be
Yeah.
honest, I still listen to David Bowie, that quote controversy that he was embroiled in his, post death didn't change the way I feel about him as an artist. Like
Right.
I mean, I really, he's like one of my all time favorite artists. And
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
I mean, I don't know if that makes me a bad person or not, but it didn't impact me the same way that R. Kelly's did. Like, and also I think like how, like, did they change as a person? Like if it was when he was, was it in his drug addled years when he was 21 and did something, and then did he grow up and have like a normal life? I don't know. There's so much. It's hard. It comes to like your ethics and what you want to accept and what you don't want to accept or what you find acceptable.
Well, I will go on saying that I think it's if it's what you believe in and the artist, if it hurts other people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if, let's say Meatloaf, for example, if his anti-vax stance or anti-vax mandate stance, because I don't know if he was vaccinated, if he uses his platform to push out false information, or if he uses his platform to really push that out, then maybe it will diminish what I view on him. But since I didn't hear of any of that until afterwards when it came out to light, I don't know if that will change how I enjoy his music, because maybe it wasn't as big of a thing because I didn't even know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's just if they use your platform to push out stuff that will harm others.
Yeah.
Like, say, for example, the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah.
And how he's being called out right now by Neil Young, and Neil Young calling out Spotify. So
yeah, so that's another interesting story. Neil Young, demanded to be removed his music from Spotify because he, quote, doesn't want to be on the same. You can what did he say? You can have Joe Rogan and there was someone else that he mentioned, but you can't also have Neil Young.
yeah.
And I respect him for that because he's taking a stand. He's saying that there's too much misinformation that's being propagated by Joe Rogan and other people on Spotify, and Spotify is acting irresponsibly by allowing it, and he's removing himself from being within the context of that streaming service or whatever you call it, radio station and platform. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, that's what he believes in. So you can't fault him for that. And he's removing himself from it. And it could be detrimental to, whatever his profits or popularity but he's at that time in his career that he can put his foot down and say, no, I don't want to be part of it. So.
Right. I think that's it right there. He's at the part of his career where he can say, you know what? It's not about the money anymore. It's about the morals. Yeah. And Spotify, by you allowing to have this podcaster with 11 million listenership per episode, to have this platform to send out misinformation and information that could lead to people dying, you got to change that or I'm gone. Now, will Spotify make that change, or will they, where are they going to get more money from? Probably from the Joe Rogan Experience. So they're probably going to hitch their...
Neil Young's gone. They're not going to choose Neil Young over...
Well, the good thing is Neil Young's not completely gone because he has his own website. There's other music streamers that you can go listen to, Apple Music. And it's just like... But I do appreciate that he's taking that stand.
Yeah.
And now hopefully other artists will also do the same thing and put like the value of what's right over the value of the green and the dollar. So I applaud him for that. Definitely.
Yeah. The thing that's really interesting about, Joe Rogan and Sarah Palin is in the news again because she tested positive for COVID and she was in a New York restaurant, even though she knew she wasn't vaccinated. And that's, something that's you're supposed to show proof of vaccination, and the restaurant's apologizing, saying that she just walked in without being checked and potentially putting other people at risk. And she's had, I think, COVID now 3 times. Says she refuses, don't you're not going to get anywhere near her children or her grandchildren with the vaccine. And what I'm curious about is like, so when they get sick, do they know it's COVID, right? Like they call it COVID. They're like, I have COVID. Or are they like, even that they're like, no, the doctor's saying I'm COVID, but it's just a cold. Like, I don't even believe that it's COVID.
I
Like,
don't
do you know what I'm saying? Like, cause
Yeah,
she's had it 3 times. So like and I think she's had some symptoms. Like I know some people are asymptomatic, but like, I think she has had some symptoms. And so if you feel that like, they're just, then they think that the vaccine is bad, that the vaccine's going to mind wash them, or I don't know what, like it's snake oil, that it's fake. It's really like, I don't understand their point of view. And that they're so, and then also like, is it just this vaccine because now the government's evil, but like polio was okay, like
Measles,
chickenpox, like all the other vaccines that we have, those were okay. Like the government wasn't evil then, but now the government's evil and is trying to. I mean, I want to know what goes through their head, but I don't at the same time, because like I have better things to do with my life.
That's a scary proposition there, knowing what goes through their heads.
Don't you wonder, like they get sick, like they have like they're sick.
Mm-hmm.
So what do they think they have? Like Joe Rogan got sick, right? He said he went to the doctors and he had a little bit of symptoms and he got horse tranquilizers or whatever it was that he treated himself with. But he's not doubting that COVID's real. He's just saying that like the treatment's not real, or that it's not. I don't know. It's weird. It's like strange, the levels of like what's real and what's not, and what do they believe in is just kind of trips me out.
It does, and I think now since we're like, I don't want to say we're heading towards the end of the pandemic and more into an endemic. I mean, it's hopeful that we are. Yeah. But the fight still continues for those who are immunocompromised, right? So those are the people who for whatever reason, the vaccines don't work because their immune system's too low and it doesn't build up enough antibodies. And we still have to look out for them. They're still human. And I think with a platform of 11 million listeners, hearing them, and I just got to imagine the people, his audience, right? His audience, they're already going to be a little more on the gullible to controversy, maybe, so they're going to believe more of what they're being told without fact checking it.
Yeah.
And so for him to push out those things all the time about what you need to do and treat yourself and not listen to scientists who made a career out of studying these items to help prevent you from dying. No, listen to me, a comedian podcast host. I know what's best for you. And it's just frustrating. Hopefully, though, people will start to wise up and they'll start to look up. Yeah.
Well, what it would be funny, or what's interesting, is that we've now with the United States experienced how, like with the AIDS epidemic, like how we responded as a country and as globally to a disease that was specifically impacting people of color and gay men, and we failed. And then now we have a pandemic that is impacting people who are elderly, people who are immunocompromised, and we are failing at that. Like, I wonder if there was a disease that only killed straight white men, how the world would fucking stop. Like, we would have a vaccine the next day. You wouldn't be able to leave your house. Like, everyone else would have to wear masks, and like, we would, because it's always like the other that's getting impacted, and it's like until it's them, it doesn't matter.
There kind of is. It's called ED, and look how we hit that, right? How many treatments are there for that?
There are for that. Yeah, it's true.
I was laughing because along with what you said. So imagine Hollywood. I saw someone say that Hollywood got it all wrong. So if an alien invasion came, and Hollywood always says the world unites to fight this alien invasion, we have proof that we would not unite.
Yeah, we would.
We would tear each other apart first, and then, the aliens are here. So yeah.
I actually had another zombie apocalypse nightmare the other day, which is a trend in my life. And it's true. It's like if there were a virus that made people zombies, half of the people would be outside like there's nothing wrong, like it's not going to impact the way, and then we would die, like we literally would be dead so quickly because
Yep.
people would be like, oh no, it's fake, it's the libs, they're trying to get you to not eat brain. Like it would just it would be so
You're
bad.
saying brain's bad for you when it's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Oh my God. The only thing I can think of is that conservatives would love to kill zombies though. Like that's the only thing that maybe that would
Yeah, that's
unite us,
true.
is they'd be able to shoot something. And
Yeah.
they do love to kill. So like maybe that would be the thing that would unify us, is like we have to
They love
kill
to
zombies. Yeah. Oh my God.
Have you ever seen the Key and Peele sketch on Comedy Central about suburban zombies?
No.
You need to look that up. It
I'll
is
go look it
hilarious.
up.
So the premise of it basically is Key and Peele, who are both African American, are like survivors in a suburban neighborhood, right? So they're
Mhm.
trying to get from point A to point B, and they're going through the streets. The rest of the zombies are white. So they all kind of like, instead of the zombies attacking them, they kind of like shy away because they're scared of them. So like they see them go up to a car door with a zombie in it. The zombie closes the door or something like that just to stay away. It's hilarious. Yeah, you got to see that. It's funny.
Even white zombies discriminate.
Exactly. That's basically it. Yeah.
It would be true.
It would be.
I only eat pure white brains.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So there's something else that just came out, like literally while I was preparing to log in. I saw a tweet about Lee Daniels is going to be making an exorcism movie.
Oh,
And
wow.
I don't know if it didn't say that it's an exorcism as in like the Exorcist brand or family of movies, but just a movie that deals with exorcisms, apparently. But he has like a star-studded cast. It's like Glenn Close, Andra Day, oh God, I forget her name, the one from Ma and The Help.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Viola. No, is it Viola?
No, that's the other actress. The one that won Best Supporting Actress for
Yes.
that role.
Yes.
Anyway, she's in it, and I'm really interested in it because like as far as I can remember, I don't remember ever a person of color exorcism film ever being made. It's always like some white girl or like some white kid. And I want to say it'd be really interesting because like obviously the African American community or Black community has very strong ties to like church and yeah, Octavia Spencer. Like, so I'm wondering if it's going to be like in the South where, maybe people think that exorcism is still real or possession is still real, or if it's going to be like in the urban setting. So I'm really excited about it. Like, I think that more people of color need to be involved in the horror genre. Because it's an interesting take. Like I love when I see a horror movie and it has like people of color in it, or they're the director, writer, because it just gives it kind of new life. It's like a breath of fresh air. And as we saw with like Get Out,
Exactly.
Jordan Peele. Yeah, and it can. That's what kind of brought that up is when you mentioned him, and so I'm really excited about it. I think Lee Daniels is a great director, and so. And those are all great actresses, so I can't wait. Even though like I'll be probably pretty scared. Exorcist is one of the few films that like I can't watch. I've seen it a couple times, but like it's probably the scariest film that I've ever seen. So it'll be a challenge, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Exorcist is okay. It didn't scare me at all. I think we've had this conversation before about the religious upbringing plays into more of your scared level. Is that what we want to call it for those films?
Level.
Scare level, fear level, fear
definitely
level with Joe Rogan.
Catholicism that definitely plays a part in it. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. But
that's cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jordan Peele, and I look whenever he introduces new work coming out or new items. I'm always interested to see what he has. I haven't seen many of Lee Daniels' films.
I think he did like The Butler.
Yeah, with what's his name? I can't think of the actor's name. But yeah,
We
we're
need to
on
have
it
like
today.
little pop-ups for like older men, middle-aged men, like Siri or Alexa, help the Gen X old man come up with the name of the actor.
Remember pop-up video on VH1? There we go.
Yeah. So,
That's what
but
we need
in
to have.
post editing, we'll have the name of the person we're talking about pop up.
I, I could put that in overlay it like a little thought bubble.
Yeah, Octavia Spencer.
Oh man. Well, something I didn't have to think about. It was a video game experience I enjoyed this past weekend, and that was in the video game Fortnite. Now I know our generation. Well, no, I'll say our generation plays Fortnite. I play it, and Fortnite play expands from 6, 7 year olds up to people even older than us. So it really hits a huge segment of the population, and it has a huge following. They introduce a huge amount of pop culture crossovers from like a lot of Marvel characters, DC characters, like the skins where you put on your character so you look like Batman or you look like John Wick or you look like Deadpool or whatnot. And they did a concert series, so it's becoming more than just a fighting game. So now you can go in there and it's like a place to hang out with your friends, listen to music. So it's really cool. And I saw they released what they call their Soundwave concert series. They released one with Tones and I, the Australian singer who hit, you might know, a Dance Monkey, and which went viral, I guess, and huge in 2019, right before the pandemic happened. And then we all had to kind of lock down. But I guess she released an album last year that I looked into. It's called Welcome to the Madhouse. Fantastic album. It's all of her songs that she experienced from within lockdown and from that she'd been building over the years. So she basically called it like a song dump. So that way her next album can be all fresh.
Nice.
And it's a great album. Now, this experience on Fortnite is you could take your character through a madhouse, think like a fun house type of thing, and it's set to different songs from the album, one of them being Welcome to the Madhouse, which is like the title track and whatnot. And it's just when I was playing through it, it was so much fun because you don't have to worry about fighting and dying. You're all there with like 16 other people. You're just listening to the music, and they give you like these ways to dance and like do different dance emotions or whatever. So you're dancing to the music like you're in like a virtual rave in a way, you know.
Nice.
So one of them's a glow stick, so you're doing all that fun stuff. But it's just so much fun, and I think the songs, her songs specifically, really just made it what it was. So like they had Welcome to the Madhouse was one of the tracks they used. Another track they used in there was called Fly Away, and every time it crescendoed in the beat, basically all the characters got to fly up into the air and you fly away and whatnot. And it was so much fun. And I don't know what else to say about it, but it's just, I really enjoyed it. And if you had the opportunity to play the game and experience that, I highly, 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 highly recommend it. It was just that much fun. And if you don't, go listen to the album because all the tracks are great and they're all personal, like you said. And she dives into the passing of her friend during lockdown. She dives into how she felt as always being, I think it's a song called West Side Lobby. And she says that she was going through a hard time coping with all the online business that was given to her because of the way she looks or how she doesn't fit in the music industry. And she got to express it through that song. And it's a great song. Some of the lines in there are like, wow, that's really cool. And it's just the whole album. Yeah, go listen to it. I highly recommend it.
But most importantly, does she write her own songs?
I'm going to say yes.
So she'll get the Damon Albarn stamp of approval. We don't want her upset about another female artist that doesn't write her own songs.
I think she does write her own songs, at least most of them. I don't see any additional songwriting credits on the album. So I'm going to say that she does. And maybe I'm wrong, but
I don't know how, like, how much importance is placed on songwriting for you. I think that there are people that their talent is being able to take other people's lyrics and perform the hell out of them. So
Mm-hmm.
like Frank Sinatra, Christina Aguilera,
Yeah.
there are Aretha Franklin. Then there are people who are great songwriters, Carole King, Mariah Carey, that can perform their own songs, but it's like they're different talents. Someone can
Yeah,
be
they are.
Whitney Houston didn't write her own songs, but like she took a Dolly Parton song, who's a great songwriter, singer, songwriter, and kind of almost transformed "I Will Always Love You."
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take away from the talent that Dolly Parton has, because she wrote the lyric, and the version that Dolly Parton has is a great song. But then you can't deny the talent of Whitney Houston, of just having an amazing ability to sing and perform the
Oh,
hell out of
definitely.
these lyrics.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah.
it's kind of a weird insult for someone to be like, "Oh, she doesn't write her own songs," but like there's more to music than just the
Just songwriting.
songwriting
Mm-hmm.
aspect of it. There's a lot that goes
Mm-hmm.
into it. Um, so yeah, I joke about Tones and I think she does write her own songs, but even if she doesn't, great voice, great performer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that, like, if I'm listening to it and it sounds good,
Who
then
cares, right?
yeah,
I
who
mean, it's
cares?
just bonus if they wrote it themselves, fine. But if it's great and I enjoy it, yeah, that's all
Yeah.
that matters.
Yeah. It doesn't
Yeah.
make me feel any different knowing that, Aretha Franklin singing a song that Carole King wrote that she didn't write herself. I still get the same emotion out of it because
Mm-hmm.
Aretha Franklin's really talented. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Speaking of Aretha Franklin, did you see the movie Respect with Jennifer Hudson?
I haven't watched it yet, but I really
Oh,
want to.
fantastic. It is fantastic. Jennifer Hudson gave a outstanding performance and
Yeah.
hopefully Oscar worthy.
She's an amazing actress, and she is probably one of my favorite singers in
Mm-hmm.
modern, in this
Mm-hmm.
time right now. I think it's unfortunate because I don't think that she gets a lot of great songs. And
Yeah.
I think that she hasn't really been able to like go into that pop realm. She's got her own a niche in the industry, but she hasn't really been able to cross over into like pop stardom because she hasn't had like that one song that's like a big
I
hit.
see what you mean. Mm-hmm.
One of the songs that I like of hers is called Spotlight, which is probably like her biggest hit. But she has such an amazing voice and is
Yeah,
such a
she does.
talented actress that
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want her to be able to have that level of success. But listening to the stuff that she does have, like, I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah. Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah. So I definitely have to watch that. That's on my list after. Okay. Peacekeeper or Peacemaker.
Peacekeeper, same thing.
What else do I have to watch? I still have to finish the finale of Yellow Jackets. I
Okay.
still haven't watched that. You have to start watching it.
Yes. I have to watch that. I have to watch Euphoria. You have to watch Last Night in Soho if you haven't.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm still sticking to watching And Just Like That, even though it keeps getting worse and worse. But I'm going to see it through. I don't know why. I think I'm a glutton for punishment because it's literally the worst thing out of this year and last year. But yeah, lots of stuff to read. Yeah, cool stuff.
That's cool stuff to watch. Go watch Wolf Like Me on Peacock. That's pretty good. I'm watching that.
Oh, did you? We didn't talk about. Did you see the trailer for Moon Knight that they released?
Yes.
That looks
fantastic.
Yeah, amazing.
Oh my gosh! Because I'm reading the comic book series of Moon Knight right now, and it is crazy. I think Jeff Lemire wrote it. I think that's his name, the author who penned the series that I'm reading from Moon Knight. Yeah. And it looks like it's pulled directly from there. And yeah, it's just.
Are you doing one of the like more modern iterations of Moon Knight or like the original? Okay.
No, more of the. I think it's 2016.
Okay.
When that series came out, and it's just really cool. I mean, I really like it, and hopefully Oscar Isaac, from what I saw in the trailer, looks like he pulled off that.
Dope.
It's just the manic and the chaos, and it's just I can't wait for March 30th.
That's gonna be great. She-Hulk is also gonna be great. They just released a new comic series of She-Hulk, and I went and got it last Wednesday.
Okay.
I don't know if it was released last Wednesday or the Wednesday before because I was on vacation, so I might have missed it. But I did pick it up. There was like a bunch of really cool variant covers, and so that was another good comic to pick up if you're collecting comics or reading comics. Another one that's on the Marvel app. If you have the Marvel app, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one that I wasn't initially reading that I just started reading, I think I got up to like issue maybe 14, 15, is the Hellions or Hellions. If I'm saying that incorrectly, Hellions, I think. And it is an offshoot of the X-Men. So it's X-Men characters. It's really good. It's like
Okay.
really wasn't like on my radar because there's so many X books right now that are out, but it's really good. It's funny. It's got like violence. So that one you might want to check out.
Okay.
It's really good. It's probably one of the best comics of series of like last year, I want to say. It's still going on. It's still ongoing, but it's really good.
Yeah, I'm going to go pick up a couple Batman issues. Batman the Knight, I think it's called, just got released, written by Chip Zdarsky. So I followed his stuff since I read his Daredevil series.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see where he takes that. And I think one of the black and white Batmans was the artwork is by David Aja, and I'm a fan of his from the Hawkeye series. So
there's new Daredevil coming out tomorrow too.
I thought it was in June they were going to release a new Daredevil series with Chip Zdarsky and Marco something, the artist.
I think it's tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow? I thought it was in June.
I'm pretty sure that I saw a tweet that says it's out tomorrow, but sometimes I get confused because it's really weird because some artists will post out a cover like, oh, it's finally coming out. And then, but it's not actually being released until like 6 months later.
I think it's June.
So then it confused me. Okay. I'll take your word for it, but I'll be at the comic book store tomorrow at 12.
Chip Zdarsky and I'm really interested in it. So I think it's June, but if you go there and you see it, hey, that's fine.
I'll let you know.
There you go. Cool. Well, all right, everyone. I think that's enough of our rambling about comic books for you for this week. So once again, thank you very much for tuning in, supporting us. Hopefully we'll have a fun announcement for you next week if it all goes well. Gabe doesn't even know about this. But hopefully next week we'll have a fun announcement for everyone. So until that time, have a great week and we'll see you next week.
Stay safe, everyone. Bye.